welcome to Tarmac. I'm Dave.
And I'm Harry, and behind us is the MG4 XPOWER. That's MG's most powerful car ever made, and it's fully electric.
That's right, MG spell power with a capital X. Come, let's take a look at this. Now, you regular viewers of Tarmac Life would have already known that we've done the MG4 before and reviewed it quite extensively. This XPOWER, although not completely from looking at it from afar, is a totally different beast altogether. But let me go through the things that are quite different straight away. You've got this color scheme, which is the Hunter Green. It's a $1,000 option, but man, it makes it strike out very well, strikingly good looking, particularly under this sort of weather. The front vents here are active, so they open up, make sure there's plenty of airstream going through to the battery, which we'll get to in a minute. The wheels here, they're 5 spokes, and they come with Terenza tires, so top of the line Bridgestones. They're, like I said, they're 5 spoke, and look at these. You've got this nice orange brake calipers. In fact, they look really big, but just quietly, they're quite small. They're just this brake caliper covers, but shh, don't tell anyone from there. The rest of it, looking down, it's all about this color scheme and those wheels. Again, round the rear here, nothing you haven't seen before in some of the other models, as far as you've got this lovely twin sort of roofline spoiler with your brake light there, plenty of privacy glass. This rear does have these lights that illuminate at night. We'll see if I can show you, but the XPOWER number plate that we happen to have, and a nice lower valance here that is in a slightly different color, but again, very, very similar. Big thing to look at again is the electric MG4 size, but realistically, like I said, you've seen it before. Let's see what gives this XPOWER the X factor. Behind this flap is the AC and DC charging port for the 64 kilowatt hour battery, which is gross. Nothing really different as far as that goes, because another model in this range has that as well. Actually, there's a 77 in one of them. But what MG have actually done is added an extra electrical motor underneath the back here, or onto the axle, and what you've got now is a combined power output of 320 kilowatts, also 600 newton meters of torque. Together, what that gives you is a 0 to 100 time of 3.8 seconds. Yes, this rocket ship will go from 0 to 100 in 3.8 seconds, and on top of that, it will actually go for a range of around about 400 kilometers. I think they're mutually exclusive. I'm sure you can't go through in 3.8 seconds and 400 kilometers all at the same time. But anyway, this is a rocket ship. You can also even charge your fridge from here, because there's a VTL, so vehicle to load. So you're probably going to need a cold beverage after you've done that sort of stuff.
Okay, yeah, so it's good to be on the front seat back again, and this time for the XPOWER. And in here, it's actually very familiar. Those of you that have seen our review of the MG4 would see that pretty much everything in here is going to be very, very familiar to you. One of the main additions that we have in here is this new upholstery using velour on the seats, which of course adds a little bit to the sportiness of the whole experience, and also a few things that are happening now in the infotainment that we are going to cover in a bit. Other than that, you'll still get that same gear selector with the shelf in here up the top that has the wireless charger for you to use. Plenty of storage down here with the 2 cup holders, then a sliding cubby that you can use, and also a reasonably sized armrest storage that you can use. Then in the rest of the interior, you get a little bit of a mix of the softer materials up on the parts that matter the most, let's say, with the shiny black plastic that goes around all the air vents, and then it starts to get a little bit more scratchy as you go down, but that's to be sort of expected. There's plenty of stuff that's happening in the tech side of things for the MG4, so please come around and let's have a look at that. So the main screen that is in center of the dashboard is still the very same that was used in the regular versions of the MG4, so to say, and it means that it has this sort of dashboard view that you get at the very beginning of the menu, where you can see all the information that is good to have at a glance. So you will have the stuff that has to do with the weather, of course everything that has to do with the state of charge of the battery and everything that goes around with it, preparation for when you want to charge, how far you can actually go go, and even how far you want to charge when you are ready to actually do your charging. So it has the battery health mode that keeps in between that healthy range that we usually consider for the EVs, or the long journey mode if you want to make the most out of those 400 kilometers of range that you actually get with this car. Going back to that dashboard, you get everything that has to do with radio and media, and then you can use your phone to use the CarPlay or the Android Auto functions if you want that. Then there is navigation, but then on the other screen, you actually get this application drawer that you can use to find all the other functions of the car. And this is where we can find one of the tricks up the X4's sleeve, which is the track mode. If you open this version here, that is of course that obligatory disclaimer, but then once you are finished with the information you can see here, you can actually find two different options, one for the stage mode and a different one for the lap mode. They work pretty much the same way, with the idea that you want to time your sessions up on track. And then in here, in this case, if I were to start a new session, it starts timing my lap time. And then of course you can make the most out of the 320 kilowatts of power that this car offers you. If I go back once again to the dashboard, you can see here those applications that you can find access to. Of course, you will also get all of the kit that comes with the car. That includes a 360-degree view. Then there is also adaptive cruise control and all the other convenience features that you can use. And most of them will also have a little bit of information to be shown in the screen that is in front of the driver. So let's go ahead and check that one out as well. And then here, using the screen that is in front of the driver, you will get all the vital information that you need as you're driving, such as, of course, your speed and the state of charge of the battery, and then a few other things here that you can even customize to the liking as you are driving along the road. In the case of the car that we have customized the favorite button on the right to cycle through the different drive modes, so you can see that they shift as I use the spoke that is here on the right, and then here on the left, it will flick through different settings inside of said driving modes, so you can really tailor the driving experience to be the most out of the XPOWER in there. And then going back to the indications here on the right, you will be able to cycle through different functions such as navigation, specific settings, see everything about the media that you're playing, and then even go ahead and see voltage and tire pressure warnings. And you also get a G meter for when you are inside of that lap timer. Then here on the left side, it's all about the media. So you will use this quirky joystick to flick through volume and presets for your media and all of that. So overall, a very sort of a familiar experience in both screens for those that are used with the MG4, but of course it adds all of that extra oomph with the XPOWER. And yeah, I know that we have teased you guys long enough. It's about time that we take this for a drive. So we'll now flick to the passenger seat and give Dave something that he's been waiting for quite a while, a go in the XPOWER.
Okay, so what would normally happen is I'd be trying to scare the hell out of Matthew, as you're generally fully aware of. This time I'll go Harry. I think he's a lot harder to scare, but I'm going to try it anyway. Now, the claims for this MG4 XPOWER is a 0 to 100 in 3.8 seconds. Launch control, as far as I'm aware, you just go into sports system or sports drive mode, you put your foot on the brake, put your foot on the accelerator, and then you just let go, and then away you go and just push right up to allegedly 100. We are recording this, or if we are actually going to be recording this to see what we can get up to. I believe that we can probably beat the 3.8 seconds but we'll see that anyway. Actually, as far as you say, it doesn't feel like that really aggressive, terrifying, launch. I think it's actually quite a reserved pull away.
I don't know if it's because I'm starting to get a little bit more used with these crazy fast EVs, but I remember that in the beginning, the shove that you would get with the previous cars was crazy, and then it's definitely not the case in here. It is reserved, it is sort of progressive, but you can still feel that it is a very quick pull away, yeah, that's for sure.
And then you realize that you're up to 100 or into some form of license losing territory. It's very, very funny. Look, having the all-wheel drive really is a big shift for this vehicle. The two-wheel drive is good, and also the range was good, and the actual, I mean, they've kept this vehicle very, very well priced. This just takes it to the next level and turns it into this racing machine, because even in the corners you've got this advanced or upgraded torque vectoring, and so you can actually play with it a lot.
Yeah, that's no question about that. The majority of the other hatchbacks of this size, they make do with one motor in the rear, which is the case that with the older gen of the MG4. But this adds this extra capability by introducing the all-wheel drive. So yes, it has all this power, but it manages to put it on the tarmac in a very composed way, which is always welcome.
I do hear it's a big handful in the wet though, so case in point, well, actually not a case in point, because we're in beautiful dry tarmac, and so therefore we can really lay down some good speeds. The big orange brake calipers are they do make me laugh. I like it when a car company tries to sort of stretch the limits a little bit without, and I don't know, they look massive and they look huge and they're a little bit fake, but that's all right. I don't mind that.
Yeah, I think that it is a quick way, at least, for you to know that that person is driving an XPOWER. if that's what they were aiming for, they have completely succeeded. But I must admit that they got me fooled. I had to put my hands behind the cover to see that the calipers were a little bit smaller. I just hope that they have all the performance that you will be needing as you do those constant sprints.
Well, you've got the various brake levels or regen braking levels. Also, you've got one pedal braking. And also, I did mess up earlier. I thought they were 19-inch feet, but they're actually 18-inch feet, which makes the brake calipers look even that much bigger, which is funny.
Maybe that's what they were going for.
Yeah. As far as the drive goes, it's very much like a normal MG4, if you've managed to be behind one, until you really push the foot down on the accelerator. And I think that's the whole point. Yeah. So you've got a very usable vehicle that with 400 k's of range is great, even from the from the 64 kilowatt hour battery. But then you can just floor it and leave people for dead at the traffic lights and on-ramps and things like that. It's very funny.
Yeah, it's absolutely not the kind of performance that it will be expecting from a hatchback of this size. And yeah, the traffic light sprints just were taken to a whole new level.
Yeah, exactly. The screen, I would actually like to take it on the track and see how the track mode goes. I think again it's another underlining fact that it's an MG that used to have a nice, or has a nice sporting heritage back in the 1920s and things like that. So I think it's a nice nod to that.
They definitely lean into the heritage a little bit more, right? Because if you're starting from a brand that was not started from scratch, at least they're making a nod here and there to the stuff that made them famous in the past.
As far as visibility, it's all the same. The road noise is a little bit there, but then I sort of want that in a sports car, because I want to know that I'm connected to the ground.
Especially when there's no noise coming from anywhere else, right?
Yeah, there is a nice little, there's a little futuristic sort of EV whine somewhere if you really do decide to push it, and this is the car that you really want to push.
Yeah.
So there you have it. The new MG4 XPOWER really does give it that extra oomph, that extra X factor. It is fast. It does take this sort of, I don't know, around the town hot hatch looking EV into another dimension, and I don't know, it's one that will throw your friends. I didn't manage to scare Harry, which is I'm gonna have to keep trying that, but it is enjoyable. It is enjoyable.
Yeah, I think that I was not scared, just because, well, we all know Dave at this point, right? And I sort of knew what to expect from this car. But if you get your friends and you chuck them in here, they will not be expecting this sort of performance from a hatchback of this size. There's the added capability and, of course, everything that goes around with this sort of heritage from the MGs. So it's definitely one to check out.
Oh, and one last thing. We did record it. I'll show you what our timing was right now. Not bad. So we managed to exceed the 3.8 seconds. 3.4. Let's see if we can, actually, let's see if we can beat that now.
Yes.
Onwards and upwards.